One of my major interests is in climate change in the past, particularly along the coast of Peru, and how that climate change affected cultural development. Along the way, we gather data that is useful for people who are going to model climates into the future. We do this by excavating sites in Peru and studying the remains we find in them, particularly sea animals, shells, and fish that indicate what climate was like in the past. The big question we're trying to answer is, how did climate affect people in the past? And are there lessons for people in the future from what we learn? One of the most significant things that we've discovered over the last 30 years of this work is change in the frequency of the El Nino phenomenon over the last 10 or 12,000 years. When we started working in around 1980 on this issue, people thought that it had been the same in the past as it was now, and we discovered there have been very significant changes. There have been times when it didn't exist at all, times when it was more frequent than today, times when it was present but less frequent. All of that's very important if we're going to try and figure out what El Nino, which is one of the biggest drivers of climate in the world today, if we're going to figure out what it's going to do in the future and how it's going to affect people in the future, we have to understand how it worked in the past under different sets of climatic parameters. All of the data we can gather about past climate feeds into models and predictions for the future, and people's lives will be very much affected by how we predict the future climate and how much attention people pay to those predictions. I started working in Peru as an undergraduate. It's just an incredible country and a great place to do archaeology because it's a desert along the coast, so things are very well preserved. And in doing that work, I discovered that there were things we could find there that are not so easily found in other places, such as these indicators of past climates. And by 1980, I had become very much involved in the paleoclimate work in Peru. I continue to do it because we can get answers there we might not get elsewhere. I find it just very exciting to have this back and forth. I know that people are going to contest my results, and I know that sometimes they're right and I'm going to be wrong, but then we'll move forward and learn something new and figure out a new project. I've had the good fortune to have over half a dozen of my Climate Change Institute colleagues come to Peru to do work with me on the kinds of questions we've talked about. And on one case, one of the early trips with Kirk Mosh, who is a climate modeler, we wanted to go look at a particular set of sites. And to get there, we had to go through a small settlement of people working on salt flats. And they didn't seem very happy that we were going through there. So we basically, I just gunned the car, we went through really quickly, and they were screaming at us behind. We thought, well, all right, to get back, we'll avoid going back through them, and we'll go straight across the desert back to the road. We didn't realize that there was something like quicksand. The car sank up to the axle, and we couldn't get it out. So we had to walk back to this village and then beg them to save us. They were not very happy with us at first, but after a while they started laughing because they said, well, the minute we saw you head across the desert, we knew you would be back and you'd be begging us to help you. And eventually we worked out an arrangement and they helped us, and then everything. Actually, they said, next time just come on through, just say hi to us. We need to know where we're going in the future. We won't know that if we don't understand more about the past. That's true about people and it's true about climate. And so the work that we do in the Institute on past climates and on the effect of past climates on past peoples is critically important to understanding where we're going in the future.